Shouting to your spouse is not communication. Screaming at your partner is not communication. Threatening them is not communication. No, it is not. In fact, that is a sign of toxicity. That is a sign of a toxic relationship. You're not supposed to shout at them, scream at them. That is not healthy. You're supposed to talk to them in a calm voice. Be rational in your conversation. Listen to what they're saying. You don't have to scream at them. There are so many marriages, unfortunately, so many relationships whereby people shout at each other. It's a screaming match. And sometimes they even shout and scream in the presence of their children, which is really, really sad, because that's not the way it is supposed to be. You don't have to shout for your partner to listen to you. You can talk to them in a calm, rational voice, and you make your point. You'll be able to put your point across. This is key, and this is very, very important. Now, the reason why, again, we are having this conversation is because, the Bible says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. So, ignorance is expensive. Ignorance is expensive, especially when it comes to relationship. Some of the issues most couples face are not necessarily a prayer point. No, they are not a prayer point. You just need to put the right key in place. If you put the right key, your relationship will be back on track. So some of the things we are sharing today are the fundamentals that you need to put in place. These are fundamentals you need to put in place. And let me say this. Before you marry that guy, before you marry that girl, and especially when you're dating, you need to find out how emotionally stable are they. How emotionally stable are they? Well, thank you, my beloved viewers, and welcome back to our show. Again, we remind you that this is the Best Talk Show, a show that airs every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 6:30 p.m. all the way to 8 p.m. Remember, every Tuesday is Inspirational Tuesday, every Wednesday is Mental Health Wednesday, and every Thursday is Relationship Thursday. So, like I said in the beginning, today we are talking about some of the issues that you need to address in your relationship so that you make sure that your relationship does not fail. Remember, I said, unfortunately, we are living in a time whereby many relationships are failing, many marriages are failing. Why? Because most of us lack the knowledge, we lack the understanding on what it takes to make a marriage work, on what it takes to make a relationship work. So on today's show, we are sharing some of the things you need to make sure that they are in place so that your marriage or your relationship can thrive. Now, the reason I say that is this. Maybe you're listening to me and you're dating, you're still on the dating scene and you're engaged, and it's very important for you to understand the foundation you lay in your relationship is critical. A building is only as strong as its foundation. A building is only as strong as its foundation. So if you are dating and you do not lay the right foundation, then your relationship doesn't have the right foundation for it to succeed. So these are some of the things you need to put in place. Right from the start, make sure that there is trust. Make sure that you are able to trust your spouse. If there is no trust in that relationship cannot go far. Trust is key. Trust is critical. That's one of the things you cannot compromise on. If you're not able to trust your spouse, then that relationship or that marriage cannot last. It is as simple as that. As a matter of fact, there are many couples today who are in a lot of emotional pain because their spouses are being unfaithful to them. Many couples are in a lot of emotional pain because their spouses are not faithful to them. And hear me, if your spouse cannot guarantee trust, if your spouse cannot guarantee faithfulness, then basically what you're saying is you're setting yourself up for disappointment. You're setting yourself up for disappointment. There has to be trust. If you make up your mind you're going to be with this person for the rest of your life, there has got to be trust. It's very important. We also said that communication is the lifeline of every relationship. You need to be able to communicate with your spouse. And we said there's a difference between dialogue and a monologue. A monologue is one-sided. A monologue is when one person is speaking, but the other person does all the listening. But in a dialogue, when I speak, I give my partner room or time to respond, because again, your opinion matters. Every person's opinions matters. And I also say that when you're having a disagreement, you're talking about an issue, it is okay to agree to disagree. It is okay to agree to disagree. You need to be able to respect your partner's opinion, even if you don't agree with it. Those are some of the signs of a healthy relationship, whereby the communication lines are open. So let me mention this. Shouting to your spouse is not communication. Screaming at your partner is not communication. Threatening them is not communication. No, it is not. In fact, that is a sign of toxicity. That is a sign of a toxic relationship. You're not supposed to shout at them, scream at them. That is not healthy. You're supposed to talk to them in a calm voice. Be rational in your conversation. Listen to what they're saying. You don't have to scream at them. There are so many marriages, unfortunately, so many relationships whereby people shout at each other. It's a screaming match. And sometimes they even shout and scream in the presence of their children, which is really, really sad, because that's not the way it is supposed to be. You don't have to shout for your partner to listen to you. You can talk to them in a calm, rational voice, and you make your point. You'll be able to put your point across. This is key, and this is very, very important. Now, the reason why, again, we are having this conversation is because, the Bible says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. So, ignorance is expensive. Ignorance is expensive, especially when it comes to relationship. Some of the issues most couples face are not necessarily a prayer point. No, they are not a prayer point. You just need to put the right key in place. If you put the right key, your relationship will be back on track. So some of the things we are sharing today are the fundamentals that you need to put in place. These are fundamentals you need to put in place. And let me say this. Before you marry that guy, before you marry that girl, and especially when you're dating, you need to find out how emotionally stable are they. How emotionally stable are they? Because again, unfortunately, we are marrying and getting married to people who are emotionally unstable because of the pain, the trauma they've been through. And when you marry them, you find yourself, you are in between a rock and a hard place. You ask yourself, how is it that I cannot have a normal, healthy conversation with my spouse? Why is it that every conversation we have has to end with an argument? It could be that that person is emotionally unstable. So it's very important for you to check on these things. When you're dating, find out how emotionally stable is your spouse. Because if you marry a person who is unstable emotionally, it's gonna affect your relationship. It's gonna affect the quality of your marriage. There are so many couples today, unfortunately, that are struggling, and they think marriage is hard. They think it is difficult. But yes, marriage is not a walk in the park. Marriage is not a bed of roses. But if you put the right key, you realize that things will start to work. And that is why, again, the Bible says wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom, and in all you get understanding. I really hope you are enjoying our show, and I want to ask you kindly, if you have any question, make sure you comment in inbox. If you have any comment, we are here for you. So let us go to number 3. What is a red flag in any relationship? Another red flag in a relationship is when there is abuse of drugs. Abuse of drugs. This is very important. If you're with somebody who is having a chronic problem with drug abuse, that is a red flag. That is a red flag, because drugs and substance abuse makes someone irrational. You cannot reason with someone who has an addiction to drug and substance abuse. In fact, I can easily say this, conclusively say this: if you are dating someone or married to someone who is addicted to drug and substance abuse, chances are they are abusive, either physically or verbally. Physically or verbally. So, drug and substance abuse is a major red flag, and that is something you have to deal with. If your relationship or your marriage is going to thrive, you have to make sure that both of you are sober, both of you are clean. And this is not a message of condemnation. All of us deal with all kinds of addictions, either chemical addictions or behavioral addictions. All of us have baggage, we have a history. But it is very important for you as an individual to make sure that you take responsibility for yourself. Take responsibility. If alcohol is an issue, then alcohol will be the cause of the downfall of your marriage. If you cannot overcome that addiction will be the source of the downfall in your marriage or in your relationship. And many people don't understand this, because when majority of young people start to use drugs, they use drugs as a recreational activity. It is usually starts with a lot of fun, a lot of excitement, but then again, the more you abuse drugs, addiction creeps up on you. And many people, especially if you're dating and the only place you go when you're dating is in a pub, or there has to be alcohol involved when you go out on a date, that is another major red flag. That is another major red flag. Because like I said, addiction has this thing, it creeps up on you. And you may start out well, but sooner or later you realize that every time you have an argument, every time you have an issue in your relationship, what do? You run for the bottle. You run for the bottle. And again, that becomes an issue. So there are so many couples today, unfortunately, they're in a toxic relationship. Why? Because one of them, or in some cases, both of them are addicted to drugs and substance abuse. So that is a red flag. And especially if you're dating, that is a red flag. If you're already married, then you need to find out how you can address that issue. You need to be able to address that issue, because there are many marriages that are falling apart because of drugs and substance abuse. Very key, very important, especially in this generation whereby drug and substance abuse has become so common. So drugs and substance abuse fall under chemical addiction, but then there's another category of addiction, that is behavioral addiction. There are some people who are addicted to gambling. There are people who are addicted to gambling. There are people who are addicted to gambling, and it is a cause of friction in a marriage, because the minute they come, they have some amount of money, they go and gamble that money. So behavioral addictions, you have to also to be on the lookout. If you're dating someone who is always betting, in Greek we say that is a major red flag. Any form of addiction, be it chemical addiction or be it behavioral addiction, is a major red flag, and it can easily lead to the downfall of your marriage. Your partner may have a good heart, he may be a good man, or she may be a good wife, but if there's an underlying addiction, that can undermine your marriage. So again, remember what I said, especially when you're dating, these are the things you need to look out for. Understand what that person spends most of their time doing. One of the ways you can tell what is important to a person is how they spend their money. How you spend your money tells me what your priorities are. So if you find that your partner or your spouse, every time they have money, that is a major red flag. So we're going to take a short commercial break, and we'll be right back in 5 minutes. Welcome back, my beloved viewer. And again, we apologize for the technical hitches. Right before I went for a break, there was an issue with the mic, but now we are back on air. And like I said, today we are talking about some of the red flags you need to be on the lookout for in your relationship. And before we went for the break, we said that if you find your partner or your spouse has an addiction, either to drugs, or it could be chemical addiction or behavioral addiction, again, that is a major red flag. Because again, we realize that there are so many relationships, so many marriages nowadays that are falling apart because of alcohol addictions. It's very important for you to understand that this is an issue you need to address and deal with from the get-go. If you are dating and you know you have an issue with alcohol, before you say I do, make sure you address that, because if there's a problem, especially when it comes to alcohol addiction, it will affect your marriage and it will affect your relationship. Now, like I said, these are some of the issues you need to be on the lookout for. The mind of God and the will of God is that relationship should be enjoyable. We are supposed to enjoy marriage. We are supposed to enjoy being in a marriage, but we need to understand that the key of wisdom is critical when it comes to make your marriage work, when it comes to make that relationship work. And wisdom, the Bible says, is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom, and in all you get understanding. So what are some of the things you need to do as a couple to ensure that you have the right foundation? Number one, you need to be very open and transparent with each other. You need to talk about issues. Your partner should be your best friend. Your partner should be someone that, that shoulder you lean on to. So he or she should be your go-to person when it comes to, therapy. Talking is therapy, yeah? You're supposed to be naked and not ashamed with your partner. That means they need to know everything about you, or as much as possible about you, so that they can be able to help you. Avoid secrets in relationships. Avoid secrets. Secrets have a way of undermining a healthy relationship. Be very open and be transparent. And also, it's very important for you to understand that your partner is not perfect. You did not marry an angel. So they are going to have issues. They are going to have weaknesses. And be willing to accommodate your partner, especially if they become vulnerable to you and open up to you and tell you some of the things they may be dealing with. Let us not be too harsh. Let us not be too critical. Let us not expect perfectionism from our partners, because that is not realistic. We are all work in progress. We are all work in progress. But some of the things I've mentioned here, it's important to make sure that you deal with them and address them from the word go if your marriage or your relationship is going to stand a chance. Now, I'm going to acknowledge some people that are online. Naona hapa DJ Zenon, Akondani, Ndani, Jeff Kim, Akondani Pia. I see so many people are liking our show. And like we said, the reason why we do what we do is because we want to share ideas. We want to share wisdom with you so that you might be able to make informed choices and decisions. I really hope you have enjoyed our show today. So right here from Thai Worldwide Ministry, we want to tell you that we love you. We appreciate you. Please continue sending in your comments. Continue sending in your questions. We'll be more than happy to address them. And until next week, on Tuesday, where we'll meet right here again at Thai Worldwide Ministry, which is Inspirational Tuesday. May you have a great weekend, and may the good God bless you in all that you do. Good night. Hello everyone, my names are Edwin Mbachu, and I am a trained counselor and a life coach by profession. Now here at Helping Hearts Counseling Center, we offer services that include youth mentorship programs, mental health awareness, guidance and counseling on drugs and substance abuse, rehabilitation services, as well as drug testing. Now, we are located at Bishop Karaoke Center, opposite Wangige Level 4 Hospital, and you can reach us on 0723 820 271 or 07188 72556. Helping Hearts Counseling Services, a place of healing for you and your loved ones.